Hey everyone, my name is Breadcrumb. Let's do another Minecraft server devlog today, shall we? So, I know it's been a while since my last video, but that is to be expected as these things take me a long time to create. But, here we are, back at it again
at Krispy Kreme.
So, in my last video, I started working on a factions world for my Minecraft server called Red Vibes MC. This is a second part of an unknown list of videos specifically for factions development. This video could be a bit technical, but I will try to explain everything as simply as I can for those of you who still want to watch the video, but have no idea what the heck I'm doing. So, let's jump in and see all the cool things that I've added to the server over these past 2 months. Again, it's kind of like a tradition, but I started out by cleaning up some code. I changed the name of a flag to not use the spaces and quotes. Not sure why I didn't change that earlier, I just didn't catch it. I also changed how the player is saved when they create a new faction. Instead of saving the player's UUID, which is a unique ID that is assigned to each player in Minecraft, it will save the player object instead, which will let me easily access the player using less typing and less code. I also moved all the faction actions into their own respective folder directories. This cleans up code and makes it easier for me to edit a specific feature if I want to, and not have to go looking forever to find it. Then, I started working on faction settings. The player can access the faction settings via an inventory in the faction actions inventory. The settings will contain mostly cosmetic settings like a faction's name, the color, permissions, and display name. I started by working on changing the faction's name. I wanted a little text box where the player could put the name of a faction that they want. The text box was just going to be a sign that I can make the player edit using the edit_sign mechanism to make the player edit a fake sign and then grab the contents of that sign. A mechanism is just something that changes the value of an object, like a player or an NPC. In this case, the mechanism is adjusting the value that lets the player see and edit a sign. To get the contents, I just flagged the player that they were editing a sign and made that event to fire when the player finishes editing that sign with the flag, so it doesn't fire every single time someone edits an actual sign. Once I got the fake sign's contents, I could then use it to set the faction's new name. Then, I added a way to change the faction's color. The color will show up in the faction's name, title, and more. Making this was a bit of a challenge. I had to get the dye that the player clicked on from the inventory, get the name of it, and match it to a color that I defined in a separate procedure. The color matching was a pain, as I had to implement 3 different procedures to handle different cases which were passed into it. Now, for a more challenging thing that I had to deal with, claiming. At first, I thought it was going to be fairly easy, but I was wrong. It was difficult to get it working, and it took a very long time, but it was worth it because it works nicely. First, I started by adding the logic to claim a chunk for your faction. It will take a chunk that is passed in and note the location of a chunk as a cuboid and save it to the faction's data. Then, I added a cool little feature that will display the name of the faction when you enter the chunk that is claimed by a faction. I also added what is called a faction tagline, which also uses the little fake sign text box. All it does is add a little cosmetic for when you enter a claim. Alongside the faction's name, the faction will also have the tagline beneath it as a little subtitle. I thought this was a fun idea, and it was super easy to implement, and I really enjoyed it. You can also change the tagline's color. I also added some particles which could be played around the shell of the claim, which was super performant heavy. It was only a few weeks later that I found an easier and much more performant way of doing it. Instead of using the .shell tag, the .outline_2D tag would achieve a much more performant particle effect with less particles, only a few blocks up and down, and not all the way around the chunk. Finally, the last thing I implemented was the claim map. It would be an inventory GUI that would show you where the available and unavailable claims are. Easier said than done. This took ages for me to figure out, and it only accounts for one direction, north. One of the things that I did to make the claim map work was rewrite my entire claiming system to use a map instead of a list. I also rewrote the claiming logic to work better with a new map system. Next, I had to figure out how I was supposed to represent chunks around a player as items in an inventory. After a lot of tinkering, I ended up deciding on how I would do it. I would 1. Create an empty list called cuboids. 2. Loop through 9 columns of chunks 2 rows ahead of where the player was. Then 3. Continuously repeat through all of the columns while also moving downwards. This would repeat and loop through the entire list of chunks, and then I would check if it was claimable or not. This made it easier with the new claiming system I rewrote using map tags. With the claim map now basically implemented, you can click on an available chunk and it will claim it for you. I'm very happy with how this project's been coming along, and it's been such a great time learning new things and creating something that people could play in the future. The code for this video and in the previous videos are in the description below. Check it out if you want. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and do that other cool stuff. Stay toasty, bread boys. Until next time, goodbye.